What's up, bro?
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
Oh, great, man. Yeah,
Great,
it's it.
good. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I I joined with my note taker, and I think it's recording now because it's good to have the notes, automatic notes, so uh, it works, seems to work. So good that you could made it. I don't know what's the time where you are. Is it like
Yeah,
day or
it's
night?
eight. It's 8 a.m. right now. Actually, it's funny because in my calendar, like recorded the meeting for 8 p.m. So I actually thought it
Uh-huh.
was like 12 hours before now. So
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understood that you thought it would be 8 hour later. Um, so for me, it was this time, so it was they were like, mm, yeah, it can happen. But if you are able to, we can talk now, so that's good.
yeah. So
So
what are your thoughts about the upcoming podcast, and what would you like to talk about it?
yeah, yeah. Uh, it could be anything about personal development, improvement, men, masculinity. It depends on your little bit what your content. But of course, if it should be more what you do or more like what me, how it can be combined. I'm familiar also with more spiritual masculinity, femininity, but it's not my main thing. Let's say I want to combine that with more scientific, more modern, like positive psychology, which is about mindset also, and a lot of stuff. So it's the same thing, but I use a little bit different terms and words for the same thing. So you can focus on the individual, on the human. Masculinity and femininity is more about the social impact and conditioning. So that's more like a group and a bigger group of people. But I have been mostly focusing on the individual. So but it's also holistic everything. It's not only mental um, development, feelings, emotions. It's also the body, physique. It's like everything that improves well-being, like physical and mental. So
I'm guessing you read The Way of the Superior Man by David Dida, right?
I am reading it now. Yeah,
Really? I'm
yeah,
telling
yeah,
you,
yeah.
that's one of the best books I have read about how masculine energy and feminine energy interplay and interact with each other.
mm Yeah, before that, I also been reading what I been reading, which was also good. But before that, I have been going more into that type of stuff now. Before that, I was more like into habits and what can I say? But think in positive psychology, there are a lot of things included. Also, like mindfulness, compassion, and values, and meaning and purpose. More like general principles. And then when if in this way of man, then they're more about sexuality and the woman also. Mm. So and that depends on like how it is quite some here that changes. It changes so quickly to the environment. So the way we live now is a little bit different than when the way of superior man was written, in my opinion. And depends also when it is. It's I see that it's a little bit different because I'm from Scandinavia, here in Finland, Sweden. It's a little bit different than also like, yeah, how we see masculinity depend on other countries. So that's interesting to see also. But so you live in USA, Western America. Where do you live?
Yeah, Cuba. It's right below Florida.
Yeah, Florida. But like there. Okay, so it's like so Eastern, not Western, but like West. eastern part of America. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
North America.
Hmm.
Okay. I see. I see. Okay. So maybe like the way superior man is like more connect close to your environment experience. For me, it's a little bit different actually. But I have just started reading it, so I haven't read just maybe 40 pages. So
I'm curious. How do you guys see masculinity in contrast to the way of the superior man?
yeah, yeah. Of course, I only read 40 pages. Um, for example, like Eastern Europe, like the Middle Europe, Russia, Belarus, and all those countries, they have a more like traditional, old, in my opinion, old view of women, and we here in Scandinavia are more liberal, or how it's different. Then I see it's in one way. I don't know if I'm very good at observing that type of stuff because I'm focusing more on the individual and what's like works best for you, and also how of course to be in a relationship and all that. But how? Okay, so what I have been seeing, it is quite universal and good rules there in the ways of a man. What I've been reading about now, and then let's see if I just started getting into that with women, and but I can't say how much different is it, but then let's say yeah, I have to remember what I have been reading.
Don't worry about it.
Uh,
Let me give you my take, and while you
yeah.
prepare.
Mm,
So I've been studying a lot about history and anthropology in general, the
mm,
cycles of civilizations and how it affects the way people think when they get caught up in the stages of their times. So it is very interesting how I liked personally a lot, like the Way of the Superior Man, just as some other books. Kind of on the same line of thought, like Hard Times Created Strong Men by Stefan Arnio, which was like an amazing book. And also this book called The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. I don't know if you've come across it, but I would
mm,
I would encourage you to read it because it's really, really, really good, because he explores masculinity not from a not from a cultural perspective, but from a psychology, but from the point of view of evolutionary psychology. So
mm,
he tries to break down what are the components of masculinity at its core individually, from different cultures. So how what are the common things that you would find that every single culture across
mm, mm,
geographic limits and across time has considered masculinity to be, so we can get like a very like a more a cohesive and realistic way of looking at what actually masculinity is. And I do believe that philosophy at its core is like going deep into nature, but not just nature in general, but nature as in the blood, as in the body, as the human nature itself. You know, what is,
mm,
for example, what is if I go to Middle Eastern countries, like I don't know, like Saudi Arabia or something like that. After eating there, when you burp, it's like it's not rude. It's actually something you're showing. You are you are satisfied with the food. But if you
mm,
do that in Europe or in America, for example, it's considered rude. So that's a
yeah. Yeah.
cultural difference. But what's the
Mm,
common thing amongst both groups is that they both eat and they both need nutrition. So
yeah.
that's that's the perspective of philosophy in this kind of way. A book that also is very interesting about that, it's Selective Breeding and the Birth of Philosophy by Costin Alamariu. I would recommend you that book also. It's really interesting. But like I was saying, so taking into account that different cultures have different perspectives about masculinity. The idea was in this book, the way of men by Jack Donovan, to actually find out what were the core essence of masculinity across all cultures and in all times. He found out that according to evolutionary psychology and anthropology in general, it's been seen that masculinity has this what he calls the four tactic virtues, because the way we have evolved throughout time from a more tribal setup, because these were the four characteristics that would mark that would determine if a tribe were to be successful or not. So the four tactic virtues would be strength, strength as in general as might, as the capacity not just to be strong physically but also to move fast and strike hard. So strength, courage, because without courage you cannot exert that strength and be useful to the tribe, not only to protect the tribe but to expand the tribe and be able to hunt and all that kind of stuff. uh,
Yeah.
After that one would be mastery, because if you got like a very specific skill, let's say like you are very good at building arrows and doing the whole thing and building the bows and all that stuff, you are actually very valuable to the tribe because you give them a competitive advantage over other tribes and over the hunting itself. And also honor, because honor is the measure that how much do I care about what other members of my tribe, specifically men like me, think about me. Because if I consider their opinion important, then I wouldn't cross them. I wouldn't betray my
Mm.
tribe because I do care what they think about me. So I'm not just like a loosened chain from this community, and that's actually very important for building trust in tight knit communities and tribes. So those four tactical virtues have been the core essence of masculinity throughout time as we developed into the modern day. And it's very interesting because when he talks about the so-called homophobia, like he talks very interestingly about it, because he says that it's not really like it's not a phobia as such. Phobia actually means fear, irrational fear, but it's something way more rooted in our masculine essence. So it's actually about rejection of weakness and rejection of men who are willing to submit more easily to other men. Because when you look at it from that perspective, you see a lack of honor there. It's very crazy, but it changed completely my perspective about that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I looked a little bit about it. It's like how. Yeah.
yeah, I
Those.
wouldn't I wouldn't recommend you to search Jack Donovan and the Way of Men in the internet, because you'll find like they say like he's an all right white supremacist, like he's like, yeah, you'll find a lot of stuff that is
Yeah.
just
Of course, those, that type of topics makes people have a lot of opinions about. I
Mm.
just looked at here from one guide I'm following. He's using like social psychology. This Lucio Bufalmano. He has like the Power University. It's quite interesting. But what he's writing is it's yeah, you can use those. What you said is it's quite general and good to use those values and strengths that you use as strength in general, courage, honor, and was it the fourth one? Mastery.
Uh, yeah,
Mastery.
it's
So
strength,
and
courage, mastery, and honor. Yeah.
yeah, that they are all like general and good values to use as a man and as a like in masculinity. And also how I see it, like masculinity is like that's men and women have that, and femininity also. So for me, like I'm balancing it up. So if you're completely masculine, that's that can be good, but depends on how you look at the masculine, how to be masculine. So um, as long as you are not like stuck in the role of that you have to believe I have to be completely masculine, I can't, and I have to be in this tiny box which masculinity means, that you are in and also that you have like this group thinking that if you are not like that, then you show not strength, you show something that we don't want as a group. So that's like the downside of it. A little bit what's happening with Hamza and his group, that many young guys go in there and they get disillusioned. They believe that this is what I need to do, and they follow someone else, and there's a group thinking, and they don't really know what they're doing. They just follow something, and of course you can explore and come to your own conclusions. But for me, like that, you have like this mastery, self mastery, that you come, you define it yourself, and there's some general um, values about what's masculinity, what's femininity, and then you balance it up. What's happening here in Scandinavia is that they talk badly about masculinity in general. So if you even say for some people that you can, they don't believe that you should have any masculinity as a man, and or or then they say that you shouldn't think about masculinity, femininity, that you're just a human, we are the same or something. But then they define it by not defining it. So,
Mm.
but that's a good idea, but you have to go a little bit further. That you still have to define it for yourself. What is it? You can't just say that I'm nothing. I'm just a human. We are all the same. So so we still need to still need to have some way to live your life, to follow something, because it's a way to, if you are afraid or to say who you are, then that's not really good. And if you do that, then in itself that's a way of one strength of masculinity. You could say that take you define yourself, you take a direction and a goal, is to say this is who I am, this is what I believe in. That's in a way in itself is a masculine um, function. So
Great. Yeah.
then by not saying it, so the masculinity here is a little bit like undefined, and many people have difficult talking about it. But then a way also I believe that you don't necessarily need to talk about those two. um, they talk about divine masculinity, or uh, good masculinity and good men, and what are they then? That's also something. um,
Jack Donovan makes a difference between what is called being a good man and being good at being a man. Being good at being a man is the fulfillment of your four tactic values or virtues, and being a good man is what your culture says is good, because that changes a lot depending on the
mm,
culture. But being good at being a man, it's something that is stable across cultures. That's why women
yeah.
feel so attracted to criminals, to men who are dominant, to men who are more assertive, and show
Mm,
characteristics of that kind of more tribal instincts. Those four core virtues, and it's very very interesting how it shows up, it plays. Because when you look for it, I believe there's a book called A Million Wicked Thoughts or something like that, that talks about the kind of let's say sort of pornography that women actually search online, and women are not a visual, nor they are not as visual as men, because women look for pornography that is visual videos, for example. Women
Mm,
look for emotional pornography, for let's call it like that. So it's
mm,
more like these romance kind of things that is not quite so these kind of fantasies, you know.
yeah. No, I
And
heard, I know,
the
understand.
main,
I know about that. Yeah, yeah.
so the
Also,
main, yeah,
hmm,
yeah, tell me.
yeah. So they do like that's why these novels, like in text format, they are popular with women traditionally. But then also, that was before. Now we have a lot of online, and we have a lot of material and photos and videos. So that of course can change.
No,
Also,
but I'm
so
telling you, it's this is currently that book, A Million Wicked Thoughts. It's a book written by Google engineers who actually went through the volume of search on the internet of woman type of pornography, and women in their
mm,
majority, I'm talking about an 80%, they don't
mm,
search for video or pictures of sexual nature. They look for emotional kind of pornography, for Kindle,
mm,
for PDF books in which you'll see this kind of torrid romance with, and these are the four main archetypes of men they search in these books. Those are millionaires, pirates for some reason, vampires, and werewolves. So basically, that's their main fantasies.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So yeah, I get that, understand that. So that's. I was just thinking about that. But that's what they're looking for to get some excitement or to get that. What do they want fulfillment in on their erotic side, or what you could sexual side, what you can, what is it really called? I don't know. But then also know, I was thinking about when you choose a partner also, even though women might not say it, but also men and women are kind of similar there, because they also look at the how someone looks. That's like the initial, like if women men are also very to the how basing attractiveness on looks, on how men look also. But then afterwards, that is not enough. You also need to have connection. Depends also if the women, how introvert and extrovert is the women, and how superficial. Um, but that's what you see also more often. Women can have, they say, an unattractive man. That's always in the eye of the beholder. But if the man is then confident, or can provide some, let's say, safety and some value to the woman, then that's fine. So it's not of course the look and attractiveness, the way what you do together, but it's also the looks of the man. But it's, yeah, so okay, yeah, but that's another thing. But it's
Co-
interesting also how it can be, how it can be. I don't know, and there's like so many aspects to think of, so it's not so simple. So that's why, yeah.
Confidence is, as a matter of fact, a trademark of competence. The more competent you are, the more confidence you will be naturally. Of course, you can actually fake confidence, and that's what narcissists do. That's also why women are attracted to the what is called the dark triad of personality traits, which are narcissist, Machiavellian, and I don't know what was the other one
Psychopath.
right now. But
Psychopath.
Jordan Peterson, what?
Psychopath.
Psychopath, yeah, exactly. Jordan
Psychopath.
Peterson talks a lot about it, and it is true, man. Because the thing is, like I said,
Yeah, I
confidence.
also know that. Yeah, because there's an example. There is one. I saw a podcast with one that had got like you can measure psychopathy, and he got like that you can diagnose. You can define that he's a psychopath, and then he has a. I looked at his Instagram. There's a lot of women interacting with him and following him, and he has like face tattoos and uh, says also he's a psychopath. So that makes him interesting for women. Somehow, yes, not all women, like not all women, but certain type of women, and women aren't attracted, but not, of course, not all women. So that's just interesting to see, like, are those women balanced or healthy, like they have good well-being or not, but those women are attracted to it. So it would be interesting to study that, like, do they have something in common or not. But it's a thing, absolutely.
I'm telling you, with regards to what women are attracted, I believe there's a lot of influence of the environment on it. For example, it has been shown in studies very recently that the these pills, what were the name, like the contraceptive pills, anticonceptive pills.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
But
Uh,
again,
the the pills the pills that women take for not get pregnant.
yeah,
Those
yeah,
pills
okay, yeah, yeah.
mess.
Mm,
Yeah, those pills
mm,
mess with their hormones.
mm,
So
yeah,
it's been found out that women actually find when they are ovulating, they find more attractive men with the more masculine
yeah,
characteristics, with the men more aggressive, men more dominant, men with more
yeah,
body dysmorphia, men that look more masculine, that look that have like this more defined jawline, more muscular. And on the other hand, when they are not ovulating, they look for men with less body dysmorphia, and
mm,
it's very interesting with more soft characteristics. That's why so many like more feminine looking men have have got like so much attention recently. For example, in TikTok and that kind of thing, it's
yeah, yeah. Oh,
it's a whole phenomenon that is happening right now, and it's been showed. It's been very interesting because a lot of women who go off the field, they lose attractiveness for that kind of prototype of men.
mm,
So
yeah,
it's it's absolutely incredible. Also, there are a lot of environmental polluting factors, like like it's been recently found out, the microplastics within plastic that mimic estrogen within your bloodstream, that end up like lowering the testosterone levels of men. I would recommend you to read a book on that is called
mm,
Xenoplastics. Also, you can catch the latest videos by Brian Johnson. He's talking a lot about it recently, and he even developed a test for microplastics, and he even tested himself already with it. It's like a very present and urgent thing because it is actually affecting the hormonal balance, not only in men's bodies but also in women's bodies. It's a hormonal disruptor.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it. Yeah, yeah. Mm, mm. Mm. I was thinking uh, what we would talk about. Do you have, are you this podcast that you are you starting, like building it up, starting it up now, and what would it be about, or do you have it already? But how at what stage is the planning of the podcast?
I don't want to script it or make it way too constrained. I actually do want to explore more natural conversations on these kind of topics, on masculinity, on self-improvement, anthropology, history, philosophy, that kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, it is that kind. It is that kind of thing. I don't want to. We could use like bullet points, like some main questions to go about. Uh, but that's the main idea. I like I said, I don't want to make it like too planned. I do find spontaneity like more important for this kind of thing, and so far it
Mm.
has helped me more. I remember at the beginning when I was starting the YouTube channel, I used to write the scripts for every single video to not get lost in my own line of
Mm.
thoughts, and also because I felt like way too overconscious about it, and that kind of guideline was a soothing thing to me. But when I got a little more confident, I believe after like 10 or 15 videos, I did started to get some momentum, and I did started to actually record the videos without an actual script, and I do believe it's getting a lot better now, thanks to that, because
Mm.
also improves
Yeah.
your capacity to improvise and to just talk about from the top of your head about the subjects you actually want to convey, and it gives you like more of a stronghold on the knowledge you are trying to share. It forces you to understand it better in some way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. That works. And so then I can share what I how I see the discussion would be. We could have one way is to have like a common theme. This is what we are talking about today, and we talk about it together. And then I share my views, and you share your views about it, and then we discuss together. Another way would be if I'm the guest that bring something uh, that we say is my expertise or something I
Mm,
have knowledge about, and then I tell what that is, and then it's like more like new to you, and then you
mm.
res- respond to that in the moment, or then we could have something that we more like that we have similar, or then it could be we have different views on something, and it is more like a debate, or it could be something an external like focus or problem that we are together and we discuss some external thing, a problem.
Yeah,
If
talking about that,
that those
actually,
at least. So we I would like to have the focus. How should it
mm,
be? That would help.
I, actually, I was thinking earlier that I am kind of worried about I am very worried about the way the Western world is is viewing masculinity, and the kind of cultural trends that we are seeing right now with Wokism and all this kind of stuff. And I
Mm,
do believe that the Scandinavian countries have gone way faster in that to that place than the rest of the Western world. We are actually trying to catch up with you guys, basically in those regards, and it's worrying that kind of trend
mm,
because it's a sort of systemic castration of young men. through porn, through video games, through the lack of meaning, through the cultural zeitgeist of turning men into something they are not, into telling men they are not good just out of being men. They should be like some sort of emasculated little boys. Um,
mm,
the educational system is actually, it worsens that a lot, because the educational system, I don't know if you know about this, but the current educational system, I know you guys actually have like a very, like a kind of different educational system. You guys at least have some difference with with the rest of the Western world.
differences. They say we have the best educational system in the world.
Mm, exactly. Well, it's still pretty bad. Every single educational system is based
Yeah, yeah.
on the same premise that was actually built back in the 1800s by the Prussians. Before Germany was Germany, they were Prussia. And they actually
Mm,
came up, when they lost against Napoleon, they got so, they thought the problem
mm,
was that their
mm,
army wasn't disciplined enough. They weren't obedient enough. So they
mm,
started, so this crazy ass Prussian philosopher that has done so much damage to the entire world with his thinking. I don't remember his name, but he came up with a educational system that would be uh, focused on making people, on making students, and mainly young men, more obedient, more
mm,
disciplined. But in a way, so for example, this weird stuff that you get in institutionalized education, like that you have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom or even to drink water, that you get to stay inside the same room 8 hours a day. Those things, well, the 8 hours the 8 hour day class, I mean, multiple lessons in a day in 8 hours every day in school, was actually a little bit after that, because the Scottish people and the British took the Prussian system, because they were in the verge of the industrial revolution. So they were looking for effective workers, a way to train
mm,
workers for the line, for the production lines, you know, for their
mm,
factories. So they exported that system, that educational system, to England, and they started
yeah,
doing it there,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
placed the 8 hour basically shift, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
to
just
get
yeah,
people accustomed to that. After that,
yeah.
D. Rockefeller and all these very wealthy people from United States actually saw that and realized that they also needed to export that kind of educational system, and they
Mm,
exported to America, and it has gone to every single part of the world. Well, mainly
mm,
almost every, at least in the Western world, it's omni it's
mm.
ubiquitous, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, so that's a topic we could absolutely discuss. I see many aspects of that and differences around the world, and also, yeah. So what you said about that, like the role of men, and I absolutely agree with that. That they don't have a purpose, they don't have something to fight for, a goal. They have lost their role. They more feel that they have to withdraw and let the women take place, because men are the reason why women have been oppressed. And the solution is not to just tell men that you should now take a break, you should be as silent as possible, you should be more like women, and do whatever you want, but just don't be so visible, don't get in the way of the women, in a way.
Yeah,
So
the problem with that line of thought actually is the problem with this kind of thing that is going on right now is actually a more I look at it from a more overview perspective because I have realized that this is a trait of a decadent society that a civilization civilizations have cycles, you know, and right now we are on the last part of the life cycle of western civilization,
mm,
literally exactly what is happening right now is the same thing that happened to Rome more than more than 2000 years ago.
2000, yeah,
So
or
what
maybe
is going
around.
on,
Yeah.
yeah, what is going on right now, it's actually the same thing that happened to that has happened. There's actually this book by Camila Paglia used to be like this feminist woman who was like very interested in uh, in how do you say it? Yeah, when people change their sex and all that stuff. So he was very interested in transgenerism and all that kind of stuff.
Mm,
She was very interested in all that in all that, and she started studying, and she was like a history major or something, and he started looking into all of that and started looking for evidence of homosexuality and transgenerism across history and all that kind of stuff. And
mm,
just by studying that, she realized that homosexuality, degeneracy in general, transgenerism are traits that only appear on civilizations oh, that are about to die. I'm sorry, I just got a blackout here. These last days, there is a lot of
uh,
inconsistency with the electric power. So don't
oh no.
pay no attention to that. I do
Yeah.
have like the laptop is charged,
Okay.
so
Okay. Good. Good.
it shouldn't be a problem. But how interesting is that each time a civilization is about to die is when they have gotten way too complacent, when they have no enemies to fight, when they have no need for masculine men and the masculine traits that got them to the supreme level of advances of advancement that they were that they got to. And when they forego all those values and turn their backs on their own heroes and start becoming, start glorifying degeneracy, start glorifying instant gratification like hedonism, you know, when they
Mm,
start glorifying all of that, it's when societies collapse
mm,
by their own weight. So
mm.
I look at all of this like the from that
Yeah.
kind of macro perspective,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And it just the way how I like more what I'm familiar with is the say humanistic psychology. There, when you look at the hierarchy of or the circle of needs, then when you civilization is more developed, you go into more like self actualization, and then can people can start focusing on that type of stuff because they have all their other things in order, and then you can have like this more that are not necessary but voluntary, and that you can do when everything else is quite fine or taken care of. And when you have more resources and more money to spend on that, then you do things like that, like hedonism and gratification, and also changing your sex and stuff like that, because that's not possible when you have to
hmm,
when you are more stressed and when you have those other things. I I I believe then that they are still there all the time, but then you can make room for them when it's more so safe. But then you lose control, and then there were I don't remember, but there's something like when it's too calm and everything, like about strong men and weak times or something like that, and
Yeah,
weak men. Hard.
hard times create strong men. Strong
Mm,
men create easy times.
yeah.
Easy times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Yeah,
Mm,
that's how the point goes.
yeah. And that's interesting. So, like for me, it's fine to talk about that as long as we don't. For me, what I'm not what's not aligned with my values and my character is then to go to like to go into the like the manosphere, and like blaming women and playing the victim role because that's what women do anyway, and also like having these kind of conspiracies about what is what, and that uh, I'm looking more about like this general, universal, and also societal, but and
Mm,
also from psychology. And all people don't agree with that, but it's like
mm.
somehow for me, it's like I'm not going to the extremes.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely, man. I'm telling you, women are not the problem. I mean, women are victims of this system. They have been sold this feminist lie that they should be less feminine and more masculine,
mm, yeah,
which is
that's
fucking
I've seen. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
It
and
has nothing to do. You would expect from a movement that is called feminism to prompt women to be more feminine, to act, to embrace their own femininity, and be like a better woman. But instead, they want to turn them into some twisted version of men, which
mm,
is which is a very awful disservice to women, actually. And
yeah, yeah,
I do not believe that this is a fault or the fault of women or the fault of I don't know, whatever. This is not what we are
mm,
here for. I'm telling you, I hate victim mentality because then you are giving away all your power. When
mm,
you lock yourself into a victim mentality, then you are saying, I am in this situation because of him, because of her, because of this thing,
mm,
because of this other thing that I cannot change. So I'm just going to sit here and cry about it. Instead,
mm,
I do believe that we should always be striving to remain on a growth mindset, on a hero mentality, thinking that
mm,
we are
yeah,
responsible for absolutely everything that
mm,
goes around, not only in our lives, but in the entire world. People who will tell you that the world is wrong and you need to change it will always be either mistaken or partly right. But the way to change the world is not by trying to change some external thing, but by changing yourself and
mm,
shining from
yeah,
the
yeah,
inside to the outside with your example,
yeah,
with the things that you're pursuing, with your purpose, with the lives that you touch in your path. When you speak to people, when you communicate, when you are trying to build something and people see it and people want to join and people want to help,
mm,
the
okay,
world
yeah,
the world will uh, organize itself around your point of focus. Where
mm, mm,
you
mm,
place your attention is where your energy flows.
mm.
So place your
Yeah, yeah,
attention
yeah.
in solutions instead of in problems, because
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
be able to
yeah.
come with the solutions for that.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. That's good. For example, I study. I'm really interested in how, what's happening for men and women more and know more about men. But just for example, I was in the beginning of the way the superior man. I thought that was so good because it mentioned there like how women are expected to be now. Or they have the opportunity to be more masculine, to have the status and expand, not expand, but evolve or develop, or like on getting more status in the work life. And what we see here also, then when women do that, they also, if they are not ready for it, they get taken advantage of, and they burn out, or more often also because of their personality. Because when I look at the personality, they have a little bit more about higher like neuroticism. They are more a little bit anxious and stressed, like how they handle it. So that's what we see, in my opinion, why women get burnt out also, because they are not doing what they have naturally been doing for a very long time, and now they have a different function, different roles. So it's not easy for them, and they can't just expect to be that it would work for them like naturally. They have to learn things, or then we have to change the environment or the system, so that it's better for all of us. Because people who are promoted, when we have no both men and women, like those women who are promoted, they can also be narcissistic and wanting power and all that. Of course, there are also women like that, and then there are a lot of other women that wants to have that, and they like generally men and women, they have so much opportunities and expectations. Men are then pressured to have a lot of money and don't have to do so much for it, and have the status. That's the pressure for men then. So it's more like that, they if they can't have that, then they will do nothing, they will be passive, like don't want to take the steps up there. They need to have uh, to be famous and get a lot of money quickly, of course, with some of them with have like with most of them have like with a lot of effort, but it should be quickly. But other men are like, okay, it should be quickly without effort. I should have that already. And if I don't have high status and a lot of money, then it's nothing worth it. I don't want a low status job. I don't want to be normal. And so that's also for all of them, but men and women, but a little bit different. And then also when I look in the what men, some get mixed up, like for example in the red pill, or the manosphere, that they believe so much that is the looks only, so that they believe that they are a victim because they don't have the looks, and therefore they can get the women. But they like they don't understand that it's more like the mentality and the mindset and the attitude, how you show up. You don't even doesn't It has a big impact. Of course, if you're more good looking, it's easier for you than if you're not good looking, like objectively. Then you have to work more on your attitude and mindset and the confidence. But then what they're missing, then, that they might be autistic, they might have some mental problems, they might not be so confident, and stuff like that. And then it's more difficult to get the women, but they don't want to. So then it's more about how to that men can also talk about that stuff. They don't have to be so strong and powerful all the time. They also have to realize and how they project and how they mirror, like see themselves for who they are, and work with those abstract things and not with the physical, even though that helps. But many of them, they might not be that bad looking, but they don't get women, but it's something else. It's They can have a bad family situation when they grew up, things like that, and they don't have any good role models for relationships, stuff like that. It's not only how they look, but many talk about it's only the looks. So that's why you do looks maxing, which is okay, it's fine. But many believe that if I can get there, then everything will be fine. So that's with men, and also women, of course, are even worse, or could say. But the men and women do this also. They want to change their looks so that they will get attention and status and get something. And so both do it, and yeah. So but it's different. We have more like communities for men, and also I also read a book about incels, and incels, then they believe that incels all they hate women and all that, but it's not necessarily like that. Many of these men also like feel quite bad, and they don't hate women, and they just end up there. They haven't chosen this. They don't. Some of them cannot start hating women because of bad situations, but maybe most of them don't. It's like they create a situation where they have like a pressure some few men, like always the same. I think, I believe, with in the men's communities field, some percentage like spread their hate and spread their shit
Mm,
on all other people, and people change. Also with the women in feminism and woke, and they are in woke is there are also men and women, of course, but especially feminism that they have taken over. They are this that talk a lot and scream and shout and spread a lot of hate, and they want to make the world better, and they say that it will never happen. And it's like, why would you, like, any logical person would say that I don't want to have this fight because we can never win. Why would I want to do that? But they spread their shit on all other, and then they take people with them, and in a way they manipulate them and they brainwash them. Both That's two examples. So it's not good for them, because those people under, they are taken advantage of, and they don't really know what's happening. They don't know who they are anymore. Then that's what happened. For example, there's one good example with this William Farrell, or what is it called. He was like one of the starters of the third or second wave of feminism, and he was there helping. But then he turned away from that, and that which also other people have done, also from Wokism. And when they do that, they get a lot of hate. So it's a very hateful community. Also, this
mm.
other Africa Brooks, I think her name, she left Wokism, and then they told her that you are not a good person. You are not a real person. You are like, you're not. She's from Africa, and you can't call yourself. You are not a good role model for Africa. Like, we exclude you from the African society here.
Yeah,
Like,
it's the council culture.
yeah. So if you're a part of wokeism and you leave it, then they try to cancel you. They don't only try to cancel those, because like you were once one of them, and if you leave, they cancel you. They don't cancel only those who are, all people who are against you, they cancel. So it's like very totalitarian, and not very good. Why would you like to
Yeah,
be part of that?
and it's sort of a death cult because what they are trying to do, what they are doing is like it's like a cancer inside of society, but it's not the real problem. It's not what is causing the decline. The decline, this decline, is truly just a natural thing, the a part of a bigger cycle. So
Mm,
what we should do as men who are looking for purpose, as men who want the best for our society, is to begin creating healthy parallel societies,
mm,
healthy places where we can build together as men, where we can raise children with a good mindset, away from all the madness of this modern Western
yeah, yeah,
society that is
mm,
collapsing in and out of itself.
yeah, absolutely. That's really wonderful, and I would like to for more people should be exposed to that thought, that you can do that. You don't have to follow this, which which seems to be the common thing, but not necessarily. And you don't have to follow it just because it's popular. But it's popular because there are these certain people who are, they might be on the dark triad. They are not very healthy. They spread this, and they create this. Uh, fear of people, because it's better to be a part of it than be on the outside, because it's you have to be very strong to be on the outside. Actually, you have to be stronger to be on the outside, to be against it, than to be a part of it. It's so easy to be in it. So, and when you understand that, then that's good, because that's for me, like, I'm more, that's why I'm interested not so much about the details of what, who are they for and who are they against, more the social influence and the social dynamics of it. Like, are you free to be like, do they accept you if you're with them or outside it? Or like, are you accepted only if you agree with them or be a part of it? Is it okay that you are just who you are? Um, and many times it's not, even of, because if you are, you have to have an opinion, you have to be for or against almost often. You can't say like I don't care, because they don't, then they believe that you're afraid or something, that many people believe, those that are people, they believe that you actually have an opinion. They can't, so that, because they want you to be simple, they want reality to be simple also. So there's a lot of things with that. You get confused if you go into that world. I don't want to. And maybe also most people don't want to, but we see it in certain places, like in the high level, like in the universities and all that. And because they are a small part of a group of people that are complaining or telling their agenda, and then they have this. It's also, if you look at, you talk about organizations in work life, like if some people can do that, like bullies or the workplace, it's the organizational structure that's bad, because universities have always been about the freedom of speech, freedom of ideas, that you should be exposed to different ideas.
Yeah, it
And
is
if
not about that anymore.
mm,
That's for sure.
no, it's a hidden. It's also in certain fields in the humanistics, there have been like a hidden agenda, and they also want to take their agenda into natural science and also other areas that have nothing to do with that in a way. But they say that it is the thing of politicizing our society. Everything needs to have some like kind of political agenda, because then some people believe that it's we need to have a optimized system, or the system we have. If you talk about, let's say, natural sciences in the way we do now, then it's oppressive for someone, and we don't want
Mm.
that. So we will need to change it. But if you do that and add something, then you will automatically oppress someone else,
And
because
it
that's
has
how
even
it is.
filtered. It has even filtered into the art. Have you seen how fucking ugly is the art that we get right now? This postmodernist
Yeah.
shapeless thing. It's awful. It's awful. Look at art from 1900s, from 1800s. It's fucking beautiful, man. And now we get something that does not show anything at all.
Mm,
Does not stand
mm,
for anything at all. And also in the movies, in the plays, in the
mm,
music, we are getting more and more this kind of propaganda instead of actual
mm.
art. We don't get art anymore. We just get propaganda everywhere you look.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's that agenda behind everything in the
mm.
movies, in in the music,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah. So
really hard to escape it. So that's
yeah,
why I told you we need to create parallel cultures, a culture that will survive the fall of this society.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've seen that before. There was one guy in one of the men's group that he's one of the men's group's leaders in Sweden, and he sent me a picture of this. Like I could show that then when, but it's a in a is it a video podcast or audio only? But you do, is it audio or also video
I,
podcast?
I was expecting to do a video podcast in general,
Mm.
so for the YouTube channel.
Okay.
So that would be the idea.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So then I can also show something. So there's a good picture of that, like, because there's some they were in they were like divided. So in the one side was like this modern society, technology, and all that shit stuff, and consumerism, and they were deaf, and they like only deaf and destruction. And then there's another reality where they like nature, live together. Of course, the core family, but it's like I for me, like maybe I'm like so influenced by my environment. So it's like I feel it feels funny, it feels not uncomfortable to say I support the core family, I support that man and woman and child, and that's like that's the ideal, and it's like something I support, and it's like because we learn now that if you say something like that, that's what I believe in, then then some you also you remember, you know, always that someone else might be feel hurt. You have to take responsibility, you have to take that in consideration, that someone are excluded when you say I believe in this, and it becomes very difficult to say your like define who you are and tell your opinion because someone else, you have to follow the rules. It's like then it might only be that you or like how can you explore yourself because you have your thoughts, you need to express them to come to conclusions like I believe in this or I don't believe in that.
It's
uh,
it's just not worth it to play their game, man. I'm telling you, it's just because if you try, you'll go crazy trying to argue against it, and they are just based on an emotional argument, based on a neo-Marxist philosophy, which is like crazy, that makes no
yeah.
sense and has no rational way of thinking. You know, it's
Mm.
completely
But
irrational.
yeah.
It's trying to create some sort of massive block of everything, where everything
Mm.
goes, everything is accepted. Because if you don't judge, if you don't have hard limits for certain things, then you accept everything. If you accept everything, if you are completely tolerant with absolutely everything, then you can be preyed upon. You can run into really problematic situations. You will allow you will allow parasitic behaviors, you know, a
Mm.
host of problems. Because, for example, let's say, let's say, let's say I'm so tolerant, let's say I'm so permissive with everything, that I now agree with my children being taught at school that they might be a man in a woman's body. So they might be at 4 years old get a sex change, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah. I know, and it's like that shows the um, when it's a result of that we accept now mental health issues, and then people start like behaving more or like fulfilling that, and it's like they like stop resisting, they like live it to the full. You could say that it's always free, you're supposed to have like bad, it's okay at least to have bad well-being, and it's like they say, oh, it's a little bit like I'm maybe a little bit I'm this is mental it's I'm supposed everyone's supposed to have some issues. Well, then they can separate like what's like mental disease and mental issues is like that's everyone have had mental health issues, but then you have the mental diseases and also like everything in between, and it's like they say it's I have the right is yeah, but what is actually then is like the narcissism, like the collective narcissism that have been uh, increased, and also that you are should be special and unique, and you are one way is to have like these crazy ideas in mental health disease actually. So it's just it's a result of narcissism, and to be unique, to have like the status, and you shouldn't be this because then something will happen of course to the workforce, the structures we have there, they don't, the way people are now, they don't fit into that because they want people to be compliant, to be you can expect how they behave. They don't have a lot of needs, special needs. They just go to work. I can employ you, and I know how you are. And then, yeah, if you are like very special and unique, how can you how can we make all these type of people fit into our companies? Like that doesn't work, of course. But still, we have like those industrial job positions. There are a lot of people that need to do them still. But still, soon these people can't fit into the normal like corporate or work system anymore. It will be very difficult. It will be, yeah, but and also it's a sense of immaturity with many people. But and also of course, like I also believe that you shouldn't forget about all those people that are suffering. All people are suffering, of course, but many have special needs. We are all different. Some people are tall, some people are long, some people are like overweight, some are not, and we have also kind of special diseases. And of course, that's you need help with that. But it doesn't mean that you should feel entitled and that you should be like narcissistic uh, in your life. So, but I believe that there's if you look at the current moment, the like the masculinity and the direction and the force of that, it's missing. And then the feminine don't know what to do about it, and the feminine can't handle the masculine role, like women in general. Like they want some direction also from above. And also, when you said that, how you explain how then these chaotic and in art and universities, it's also like the feminine have lost its role also. It's like they have the feminine are like free, and there's no direction or like boundaries. So it's like the it's also because because then when the women learns, understand that now we are supposed to be more masculine, and then they can't also even express their own feminine sides. So it's a very chaotic from that side. um, that's a thought that I got. The thought is not done, but it's
Hmm.
something about that.
No, but it's very interesting because you just got me thinking right now. For example, is it actually that the feminine that the feminine that the woman have raised their masculine essence because men have shied away from masculinity itself in the universally cultural role they have always had? Is it
Mm.
because of that femininity has rise, or is it that I mean that
Mm.
masculinity
Mm.
within woman have
No,
rise,
that we see
or
now. Mm.
is it that by pushing from above, from the societal structure, by pushing women to become more masculine, have we decreased men's masculinity?
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
It's a very interesting concept.
Mm.
It's a it's because it's incredible how it has all synchronized in this very curious manner.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, because if you think about how it started, oh, it can also be an expression of that feminine, the femininity movement don't know really what to focus on anymore, so they have to just focus on these like small arguments, small little shitty things, because there are no big things left anymore, and they don't want to just die out. So they have to at least have some, pretend to have a really big issue. Um,
Mm,
so that's why we also see, I think we will see more and more that men and women that believe that the feminism movement are like focusing on stuff that are not that big. They try to make it more important and big than it is
mm,
in the Western world. Uh, and many will see more like this is it doesn't make sense, and all that, because it's not about the equal opportunities and the equality anymore. It's more about like identity and personal individual differences, because everything is not about men and women differences between them. uh, they are within men and women, there are also many differences, and when it gets more equal, the societal equal, then of course we will see more individual differences between men and women, and they are not explainable with like um, group
mm,
differences between men and women, how they are treated. So that's also one thing that's I believe I believe that it started with the women's movement, that they could vote and that they could work and everything. That's fine, and the study also, which I believe, like I have all these basic stuff are like for me uh, obvious and needed
mm,
for women, that they cannot do all that. That doesn't mean that women should turn it around and have like that, making it worse for men
mm,
somehow. That many times many women want to do that also, because now they are like quite hateful and want to show that this is how it this is how it can be, and now we want men to experience the same. So that's of course something you need to be aware of. And then you can of absolutely discuss and argue about the systemic oppression. Is it there or is it not? uh, is it in favor for men and not in favor for women? And is it really there, or is it only something that, let's say, narcissist, like this certain type of men and women do? Because there are some men in men men also, let's say, what they do, want to pursue like feminism issues, because they they and then they could be, I don't know, narcissists. They have a opportunity to shine, and that might be because of personality disorders or traits. So that's also one interesting thought. Like I know it's just an reflection. Uh,
Hey, it's kind of a shame that we didn't actually record this
mhm.
as the podcast itself, because it's actually quite interesting and it's been like quite a lot. So we could actually post this
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, we
as
could.
a podcast.
I thought about it also, but this actual recording, I have the Fathom, so not maybe the best quality, but I can download the video from this.
Really, that would be like really useful if you can upload it to Mega, so I can download it from there
Mhm.
and try to
Yep.
edit it and stuff and post it in the channel. It would be awesome, man. I'm telling you, this discussion has been like very insightful, and I do
Yeah,
believe
yeah, yeah.
we actually should do like the like the next one, like another podcast as well. So
Mm.
in this
Yeah,
same
yeah,
style,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and talk
absolutely.
in
Yeah.
more depth. Now that we have talked in depth about the problems, maybe we should talk in more depth in the next episode about actually the solutions.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, because that's good, because you don't want only to be the one explaining things, telling what you think is not good or the possible dangers. You also want to have the ideas about it, because many believe that I have heard this already, and I don't want to see more people complaining, more men complaining, even if it's like really important stuff,
Exactly.
because men can't just stand on the sidelines and let women do whatever fuck they want. And also men in femininity, like, also I'm not only talking about women, it's like they are like the in my opinion, lost men that also do this. Um, but you don't want to, because I don't want to be like them. I don't want to talk badly about
Mm.
them, because they I don't want to talk about lost men, like like publicly they might be, but they talk shit about how men are the traditional, and they talk about toxic masculinity, which then they say it's toxic, and I see it as like quite standard or like obvious or like good. But they are, of course,
Yeah,
like
if
you just,
you're if you are a man, if you're a man and you don't hate yourself, you are probably you're probably infected already with with toxic masculinity.
mm,
So
yeah, and it's so interesting that I believe that they have. I've seen it in certain areas in feminism and in the diversity and inclusion, and uh, and also Wokism, all these common things, all these more leftist movements, you could say, if you want to talk politics. But I also see the need for them, as long as you keep it moderately. But they have just taken out of hand because they twist and turn things. That's also like William. I think it's William Farrell. You should check him out. He has a book named the boy crisis. I haven't read it, but I would like to. He was like in the feminist movement, but he left it because felt that the men are like, if we don't focus and take care of men, women will suffer. Also,
mm,
we can't just talk shit about men all the time. Um, because we should talk about, I mean, my opinion, the individuals, the dark triads, the narcissists, the corporate system that favors certain type of behavior, and all that. And that can be men and women. It's not only connected to men and masculinity. It's connected to other traits, but it's closer, of course, to men who are physically stronger and are more goal focused and all that. That's all, of course that, but it's not only that. It's not so simple just to put all women into the corporate system and everything will be fine. Because I also know men, because women are more like tricky, like they are not physically strong, so they are much more developed in this type of verbal manipulation and backstabbing and all stuff, because it's actually, it hurts more to be hurt by a woman than by a man, because a man says like what he thinks, and with a woman, you tend to have like, they don't say exactly, but it hurts more because it's more connected to your identity. With men, it's more like, I don't like you because yeah, you look funny, or you didn't
mm,
perform well here, so I have to let you go. Something like that. It's more
exactly.
simple, and it's easier to take on because you know what to focus on. If I wouldn't do this, it would be better. With women, those type of sociopathic manipulative women that you don't really know, and men women are better at that. And and those, what I wanted to say about they turn things like there was something, toxic masculinity that started with this kind of violent, oppressive behavior, antisocial behavior, and they called it then toxic masculinity, which is could be like just toxic behavior. And
Mm,
now the feminist movements and woke, all that stuff, they just say that they include so much of their own stuff that we define toxic masculinity like this now, and we should maybe also include like strength, power, to talk about yourself, to be honorful and proud. That's also toxic masculinity,
mm.
which is not, and that's why gets so confusing.
Everything has its downside and its upside, of course. You man is order and woman is chaos. Chaos can be a good thing because it can bring it can bring the creative power within the unknown. But at the same time, it can be dangerous because you don't know. But at the same time, order can be a good thing or can be an oppressive thing because you need a certain degree of order to be able to organize things, to be able to navigate the world and predict certain things. But too much prediction,
Mm.
too much order becomes oppressive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and also I also see what I see also now, that which is not connected to societal impact. That's more like a personal, yeah, personality impact. women, I see many women, because I study business, and there were many women who are like very conscientious. They study bookkeeping, financial, and also they study law a lot, where it's like strict. You interpret the law, of course, but in bookkeeping you follow the rules. And there are a lot of women that are very good at that. Also men, but more and more women. And in the business schools, there are more women now here. There are like the more and more women study that type of stuff. Mm. And yeah, so that's what we see, and that's more like a personality stuff, because women are good at that. And then we have the societal impact that men don't go there, because it's men are also like, they are not a big difference. They can also be like that, but it's more like the societal big impact, that if they are not allowed, or they don't feel that they are good enough, then they don't start studying stuff like that.
Mm.
So, but I don't really know what's the reason. Also, if you do book, because there are also a lot of men who are really good at that. Like, men in general are good at math, but bookkeeping is more rules. You put things in order.
Mm.
Mathematics is more creative, and you follow the rules, but you have creativity inside. Um, so it's very interesting to see that these women who do bookkeeping, that always need to get the right answer. In mathematics, need to know, I want to know something, and then apply this type of way, like mathematics, to do it. But in bookkeeping, it's like, I need to get I know how it should be, and how can I get it. uh, so that's more women, what women do. um, so so that's also like, because they talk about how they could get women into to STEM fields, and
Mm.
they should
Yes.
also, yeah, just quite good. But I don't, what I dislike about that is that I don't want to anyone, and any women, to be pressured to go into, like, examples, to any field. I want
Mm.
every individual, with as minimum as of societal impact, to do what they want with their lives. I don't.
Yeah, the more governments interfere with the lives of the citizens, the more control the citizens are giving away to the power, to the power system, to the actual government. That's the problem also, because it's been very clear to me that very recently there are a lot of there have been a lot of studies about economics and about why exactly the market fails, but it actually doesn't fail. The market doesn't fail at all. The market actually fails because of government intervention. That's what causes the market to crash. That's the crazy thing. The less intervention you got on economics, on free market inside of a country, the better the better the market will be.
Mm,
There's
mm,
also a book, a very interesting book by these two guys that won the economics Nobel Prize very recently. That is called "Why Nations Fail." That talks about
mm,
the importance of of having trustworthy institutions, the importance of those institutions to be not corrupt, and to make sure that the private property rights are respected. That should
mm,
be like the only concern of the government, to
mm.
to permit
Yeah.
the fair exchange of value inside
Mm,
the market, but not cohort any institution or any individuals to do something according to their legislations, or according to the. That's why the English, the British descending countries. have been so successful in economics in general. You look at the United States, you look at Canada, you look at Australia, or you look at England itself, and you'll see that those are the most some of the most competitive and more successful economically in the world countries. Why is that? Because English common law, it's not built from top to bottom, has always been built from bottom to top. So if we come out now, if we have a disagreement, a business disagreement now, a legal issue, instead of being certain rules already there for us to follow about that, we take it to court. And in Supreme Court, a judge will actually take a look at this situation, will take into account any previous precedent that there might be around this situation and make a decision. And that decision will be added to the body of law and will be used in the future for other situations similar to this one. And in that way, you're building a body of law from bottom to top that allows the greatest amount of freedom inside for the citizens and allows the system, the political and legislative system, to grow naturally and organically instead of imposing some sort of view on it from the beginning. And that's why places like Singapore, for example, Singapore is just a tiny port in Asia. Singapore
Mm.
has no natural resources at all.
No.
They were they were a colony from the British Empire, and and when the British left, they had nothing. They were very, very, very poor. They were a very poor country. How they became one of the most rich countries per capita in the world? How did they become one of the most advanced according to index of human development countries in the world? Simply because they when they realized that the British descending countries were doing so well, and they had like the British and they have been like a British colony, they sent all their judges to England to learn law, to learn how it worked, the British common law. When they brought them back, in 30 years, Singapore went from being one of the poorest and unknown countries in Asia to
Mm.
being one of the most rich per capita in the world.
Mm. Yeah. 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 And I remember that day. I I I was studying in Poland for half a year, and in internationally there were a lot of people from all the world. There were some from Singapore. I remember them that they were also active. They were talking with a lot of people, and also there's also individual differences, but they were very well well mannered. They were polite, and also in general people from Asia wants to follow rules. And I know also about Singapore, they what I remember of Singapore, I know that they're very wealthy and good economy. Also Japan is also very good. Like how can they be so different, these countries? But Singapore is also exceptional. Also, they remember that they enforced like many rules that to keep the people from behaving in a certain way. So that type of stuff are there also. Like you can't throw chewing gum on the street; you will get fined a lot, like for that. And that was something like maybe their behavior was not good, and they have to just fix it. And when after a while, they will start behaving better. So that's of course interesting. So maybe to help people behave seems to be something, but also I believe, like you said, that not interfering so much with the companies in the on the market. Here in Finland, example, we haven't like we are very social democratic, and we have many big companies that are owned by the state, and they now we have like this wave of lowering the how much the state owns of the companies, and they're lowering that because these companies don't go so well because they are too slow. Also, what we see that it doesn't fit anymore, less and less, because the market is global and it's faster and faster, and the state is slow. If you have a lot of interference with from the state, it will take much longer to make decisions, and they also want to preserve rather than take risks, and that's not good uh, many times.
I
uh,
believe it's very important to actually, with regards to the to changing certain behaviors in society that are less desired. The idea is not like forcing a government interference, but setting the right incentives.
mm,
You know,
yeah.
with incentives, you can get behavioral change, but
mm, mm,
with forcing certain patterns of behavior, what you're doing is creating resistance, and
mm,
eventually it will blow up.
yeah, yeah. And like people talk about that if you do like behavioral, we could say manipulation, or it's like behavioral. If you understand behavioral science, you should use it. It's okay to use it for good reasons,
Exactly.
and it is. Yeah, of course it is. But then there are all these people who study it in universities. They also decide what are the good and the bad
Mm.
ways. So and that's not always. Yeah, it depends on your worldview also. What's good and what's bad. But for example, like I want to learn more about that. But for example, if in a on a form, if you have to untick something, if it's already there, like I also want this additional service or something like that. It's you are more common to go with it if it's already ticked and you have to uncheck it. But if you have like to say I want this, also click yes I want it, then uh, and then you can use it for some good ones. Like if you are in some health service and they want you, they as a form. I also want I want to support the foundation for poor children. And if it's already ticked, like many more people will choose it. But if you have to, if it's already ticked there, but if you have to like make a decision, I don't want it, so I have to change the I want to write that I don't want it. I have to take it away. Then that's like subtle manipulation because
Mm.
it's easier when you when you have to. It's easier when it's already there, and it's
Yeah,
like
when it's like the default option. Yeah,
default option is like accept, and if you want to have not have it, you have to say no, I don't want it. For
exactly.
example, so that type of incentives are good if you understand human behavior, and they should we have them all day. Like uh, yeah, they are they are then what we see is like they say that these companies do it badly and it's so difficult
Yeah,
to
because they do it a lot of the times just to get more money for themselves, just to influence behavior to make you believe that you need certain products, that you need to buy certain product that is going to make your life better in some way. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes they are just creating a necessity that wasn't there at all.
yeah, yeah. And connected to that is the corporate system and creating. I thought it was so good. So that what you said about creating a what society or like environment
You need a parallel society, a
parallel
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 culture.
parallel
Yeah,
culture. Yeah, yeah, that's so good. For example, because I've learned, of course, where I studied business, that you should create value for the shareholders. That's the point of a company with stock, like a stock company.
Exactly.
It
For
is.
example, in America, the founding fathers actually, when they established they established the Constitution, they decided that it was very important that all citizens were landowners, because if you don't have a stake in the actual
Mm,
state, why would you actually care to make it better and to preserve it and to fight
I
for
see.
it? You know, when you are
Mm,
renting a house, you are not going to care about molding the lawn or fixing the pipelines. You are not going to care about taking care of that house because it's something rented. But when you
mm,
actually have your own house, you want to increase the value of that house because it's something you're doing. It's a long-term investment because you are
mm,
leaving that house for your children in the future, because you're going to live in that house for the rest of your life, and you need to take care of it, and you want it to increase in value. Even if you want to sell it afterwards, you rather having a house more valuable after you went through it than before. But that's the problem with these modern governments, is that they are driving not only the economy but the whole country. They are driving it like a rental. They don't care
mm,
about it because they're going to be in a position of power
mm,
for what? For 4 years, for 8 years only, and they bring all those immigrants, and they use those immigrants as cheap votes.
mm,
But those
mm,
immigrants do not care about the culture, do not care about the country, do not know, they do not understand the communities, and a lot of the times are incompatible. That's the thing. I'm not entirely against immigration, but immigration must be controlled, and people must be actually for the culture instead of against it. Sometimes a lot of the immigrants that come
mm.
into Europe right now, they don't know anything about Europe. They don't even speak the language. They don't even care about the
No,
culture, and they are
no.
just breaking it all apart. And it's just baffling to me
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
how we are allowing ourselves, our own culture, to be wiped out entirely
Mm.
with
Yeah,
people who do not care for it. And it's not the immigrants' fault. It's the
mm, mm,
government. This is what Aristotle used to say: tyrants prefer foreigners. Tyrants prefer foreigners,
mm,
and
mm,
that's the thing. Totalitarian governments who want to exert more control over the population need a divided population, need those cheap votes, need cheap labor for the oligarchs that are
mm,
actually running the government, for the big
mm,
monopolies, for the big companies that are the ones financing their political campaigns. And that's
mm,
what most of the Western world has turned, a sort of oligarchy in the shadows. Our
mm,
democracy has failed because we have built such systems that have taken us. It's very complex, because in the end, it is true what Aristotle used to say, that in the end, the virtue of the virtue of every government will in the end, pushed to its limit, become its own downfall. And the Western world economic success is what has led to this kind of oligarchy control by the big companies. And these big companies have started influencing so much the government and the government policies, that they are the ones dictating the policies
mm,
at their convenience. So
mm,
that's
mm,
why we get mass immigration. That's why we get We get ridiculous taxes. For example, in the United States, this culture promoting war against Russia, between Ukraine and Russia, and paying all these billions, sending all these billions of dollars to Ukraine to help in the war with Russia. But are they buying weapons from? Who is Ukraine buying weapons from? From the industrial and military complex back in America. So they have created this need out of pure politics, out of pure out of, they have created this need that didn't exist, pushing a
Mm.
war just for selling more weapons, just for
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just
There
for
was
repurposing the taxes of their own people.
yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah, and I get that. I have understood that for a while. They always need to be a war somewhere, and some Western country connected to that. And it comes also already from 1984. If you have read that, you should. And also the other
Yeah,
one, Animal Farm, because that's in 1984. That was the first time I understood that they are always they are those three, they or four three maybe, they're always in war with each other, and that keeps the people calm, or they're not calm but silent, and
yeah, it
they're
keeps the people
on,
controlled.
yeah,
Yeah,
control and silent, and they want to be safe. So it's not so extreme as that, but there needs to be some war, and there's a lot of money in that. It's like so much. There's a movie about it also that in on Netflix, if you would like to see. I don't remember the name, but it's really good about how they sold. I think it was based on also a real story that they had this governmental assignments of what orders of what they wanted, and then you could so anyone could fulfill them if they got the contract. You could provide them with the equipment. It's not only guns but all other kind of stuff, and there was of course a big economy behind that. That was a really interesting story. So that's a good one, and that's obvious. That's war equipment is a big important factor of our the politics and the countries and the economics of it all. So that's why people, they, even though they don't want it, but they want to keep up the conflicts because they can, yeah, they can improve their economical situation because of that. Somehow that's
yeah,
why USA goes into to this war here. That's far away from them. I there was yeah, I have heard and read about it. Don't know some. I don't remember it all, but I understand the idea of why.
yeah. So
Mm.
the first step to solving all these issues is to actually take responsibility, is to actually look inwards, and is to actually start understanding how this whole thing is working and why is it wrong. And once you start taking conscious about all of that, is when you got to start building this parallel society, this parallel culture that will actually live on after this collapsing world that we're living in.
Mm.
Because we need that. We really need that now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that I just yeah about this. I remember yesterday I read about that Boeing, which is a was a big the industry leader, and they had I think either the mission or vision, maybe vision. Mission was to build the best possible airplanes, but then they got sold, and the new owners said that our mission is to create as much value as possible to our shareholders. And then it's just boomed, like not boomed. The other way. It just deflated because their mission was ruined, like didn't work anymore. So
Mhm.
that's also what you see, that you can't just follow. the making value to shareholders, you have to have a mission that's aligned to what people want. Uh, the people, you have to take into consideration the people. So uh, there's something you can discuss about the making value to shareholders. The fundamental is, of course, that it's not the best system we have, but on the free market you have to, of course, create value, and also to the shareholders and to the company or organization, but not too. So then, of course, you can discuss how should it be better, how should it be different, because it's not supposed to only be like the maximum value to those people, the small amount of people, uh, because that's influences how the company acts and behaves.
Mm,
So, but you can't be without it. A company has to go well, but it's also, we see that it's getting more and more extreme. Companies need to be that big also, because they have to be have every year annually. They have to have more development, better results. Uh, it's not enough to have like really good results every year. It has to be more and more every year, because otherwise the shareholders are not satisfied, and that's not, it's not possible. It's not even possible always. They have to change reality. They have to do things. They can't be honest, because it doesn't work like that. It's not
yeah.
possible. So it's that's interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do believe that in the end, everything, even if it's everything comes with trade-offs, you know. And even if you want to create, let's say, a company that starts with a good premise, in the end, it's always going to end. Everything has its ending. You know, nothing lasts forever. Not even
mm,
civilizations. Not not even not even planets. Everything.
yeah, yeah.
Everything consumes in the end, but it's not about the ending point. It's about the journey that they take. It's about all the things that they accomplish in their path, and how it all becomes some sort of great experience and some sort of great picture in the end,
Mm,
some sort of good story.
yeah, yeah, yes, Pastor. Yeah, it's good to be reminded again about the cycles of society and how people behave, because it's example, it was eye opening for me to see the map of Europe, from like history from to 3000. I don't know how when it started, but as far away as possible, and the way how the map have changed, like when the empires, they was shifting all the time. And the Roman Empire was big, but there was also some other interesting stuff. I should watch it again, because it was shifting out different ways. And you could see like how big the Roman Empire was actually, and for how long. uh, and there was like a peaceful time, and nothing really changed there for quite a long time. Um, and then we go into the modern time, when it seems like the Second World War was far away. But if you look at the history of the whole Europe, then you can see that it's not such a long time. It is quite short. But we are so more civilized, more also more humans alive. Like the population is bigger. Uh, so it's really, that was interesting to see. And also visit some Asian, like some dynasty, the Chang this dynasty. It took 700 years to unite. There was a 700 long war, 7 year long, 700 year long, uh, to unite them, those tribe, and to create the dynasty. So it's like, compare that to the latest 100 years, 150 years. But of course, those the modern war is much more. It's also before it was only the warriors or the soldiers, which were the men. Now it's also the civil population included in the war. So of course it is different, and it's more violent because of the guns and equipment. But it's of course it was brutal before also, but no, it has never been easy. But before they have like the battlefields where the soldiers fighting. Now it's like everywhere and anywhere. So that's the difference. So
Yeah. So I believe we had like a really good podcast today. Uh, we should do it again tomorrow. What do you think? To talk about the solutions,
uh,
or when
I
do you
don't
have
know about
another?
tomorrow.
Well,
Tomorrow is not the best day, but it's like for you if
don't
this.
worry about it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll stay in touch, and you tell
Yeah,
me when you got time, and I'll check my calendar and get back to you.
yeah.
Oh,
And what time would it you have? Because now it was morning for you, so from 3. But should it be later on? Because yeah, hmm, around this time is quite good. Depends. Like but it can also be like around 2 hour, 1 or 2 hours from now we could start. So you
mm.
could check that also. Like uh, for you, like
No,
1 to 2 hours from now, that could be good as a time.
no, because at that time I think I'd be like very, very busy already with my
Mhm.
coach clients and all the stuff. So I do believe it would be like a good time right when we did it today, like
Okay.
starting
Well,
at
yeah,
8,
yeah, yeah.
8 a.m. EST. Yeah. So that
Mhm.
would work.
Yeah. So for example, it 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 fits for me almost like in general every day. It's just around that time when my daughter is coming home from uh, kindergarten, so
Mm.
that might disturb. But it that's the only thing. Like if I'm free, not every day, but in general, like, it is a good time at the moment. So we could look at that next week, for example, when is a good day, and take it from there.
Exactly.
So
Awesome. So
yep,
it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Torbjorn, is that the
yeah,
right way to pronounce it? I don't know.
that's the English way. The Torbjörn is the Swedish way.
Torbjorn. Torbjorn.
Torbjörn,
All right.
Torbjörn. You can practice. You have to. You can practice it. Then you can introduce me like Torbjörn, but you could say also Torbjörn. That's fine.
Mm.
And your Scott,
So
so I can
yeah,
say
it's been a pleasure, man. Been like a really good. I do believe it's going to be a really good podcast. We
that. Mm,
should upload this one. Definitely we're going to get into the next one with the solutions and our plans
yeah,
for this for how to tackle these problems. So it's
yeah.
been a pleasure, man.
Absolutely, yeah. It was for me too. Also, it was a good discussion. It was when we found the topics that flows naturally for us together. Then we have it. So now we can just do it again and just talk about it, and then that's fine. And focus more on the solutions. So we don't need more structure than this, but just to have like
Exactly.
some topics so that when we tell what it is, that we actually talk about what we told the audience about what it should be about. So,
Hmm.
or you could also have like we talk and then we put a topic on it. Of course, that works
Hmm.
also. But let's see.
Exactly.
Hmm,
So
absolutely.
take
So
care,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Take you care. I will send you the. Yeah, it might be possible if I send you the link, you might be able to download it on your own. So let's see.
Yeah.
It might be so, but I will send you the link also. See if that works, or otherwise
Yeah.
I can upload it to Omega.
Yeah, I,
It's also
I would
possible.
I would suggest you exactly to upload it to Mega, and then you can send me the link and I can download it from there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Great. I'll do that. See you around. Bye bye.
See you, man.